You are listening to the Wize podcast, a podcast for writers who wish to kickstart their writing into high gear. Join Chanah Liora and learn the skills you need to make your dreams into a doable reality. The Writing Process, a Refresher, Episode 2. Okay, today I'm going to talk about the writing process. For many of you, this will be a refresher. For others, it may be brand new to you as new writers. May your journey be more joyous than laborious. The process of writing has a defined order designed to help you write in a way that will lead to productive writing sessions. The first stage is called the Prewriting Stage. It involves percolating, brainstorming, mind mapping or clustering, free writing, and outlining. Percolating is one I've added. It's a process that comes naturally to me, and I recommend it for you as well. The reason I recommend that you try it out is because it will help you be easier on yourself. As writers, we tend to be sensitive, and that inner critic is always ready to go at us. By allowing yourself to slow down with the percolating stage, acknowledging this natural process to writing, sometimes things just take longer. You can't always force it. Having said that, I need to qualify it. If you're under a deadline, that's a different issue. But if you're working on a project where you're in no hurry, this gives you time not to rush your natural process. So what is percolation exactly? I'll give you an example from my favorite morning beverage, coffee. When the hot water, boiling, pours over those freshly ground beans, it releases their decadent juices, effusing through that aqua pura, turning it deeply dark, delicious, delightful, perfect wake-up drink for a clear head and a clear day. So when does percolating happen? How does it happen? It can happen in the bathtub, in the shower, or swimming, walking, or doing housework. An important aspect of percolating is that you start becoming mindful of your thoughts. You have to be paying attention to what's going on up in your head, or you'll miss the whole thing. It requires you paying attention within. Moving on to brainstorming. Brainstorming happens when you just sit down and you kind of just write down the first thing that comes to your mind. And then you storm on it, which means you just write any following ideas that come around. You may write words, phrases, or short paragraphs. Brainstorming often leads to mind mapping or clustering. Mind mapping or clustering are taking what you've written from your brainstorming or your free writing and kind of making it into a visual. People do this often with drawing a circle or a square, some kind of shape, and in that goes their first idea. Then branching out, they draw lines like spokes from a wheel for their subcategories coming from that idea. And from those ideas spurns other ideas. So below that, you draw more spokes leading to more circles. And you can flesh out quite a bit from this method. It's very helpful for a lot of people. It does not work for me. You can start with mind mapping or clustering. You can use one or any of these techniques. Just use what works for you. Okay, moving on to free writing. And all of this is still in stage 1 of the writing process. Free writing is simply to write. You put pen, pencil to paper, or fingers to keyboard, and write continuously. It is important that you keep going. No stopping to see about grammar or spelling. That defeats the purpose. In free writing, you want to let yourself go so your unconscious mind will unleash itself upon the page or the screen, free from harsh judgment and criticism from that inner critic. It takes some practice, but once you get the hang of it, it's a lot of fun, and it's a great warming up exercise before your daily writing. And then there's outlining. Remember your school days, those research reports? You had to start with Roman numeral 1, followed by your main idea or fact. Then you go to the next line and indent with a small a, followed by your supporting ideas, and you drop down for B and C and D. Then you completed that section. You move to Roman numeral 2, and then you follow that same format. Well, you can do the same thing with creative writing, really any type of writing. For your Roman numeral 1, that can be the main idea of what's going to happen in that chapter. A, B, and C can be your action and conflict events. And then Roman numeral 2, 3, 4, etc. can all be headings of your next chapters. And your A, B's, and C's, one of those. It can also include characters and settings, introductions of each chapter. So that's outlining. Some people use it to plot out their entire book. Okay, stage 2, also known as your rough draft. Rough draft is the key word because you're roughing it out, the whole thing. So you're not going to worry about grammar or spelling. You're going to worry about getting it down on the paper or on your computer. Don't worry about anything else. Use your notes from your outline, your mind mapping, whatever else you've used to help yourself get started. Okay. Now let's say you've finished your rough draft. It's celebration time. Have some chocolate, a glass of wine, whatever you do to reward yourself for a job well done. You've earned it. Gives you a little break before the next stage. And the next stage is revision. Revision is when you read your work out loud as part of this process, because you will hear mistakes and things happening that you will not catch when you read silently. So it's very important to read your work out loud. You're looking for how smoothly it flows. Have you met the required word count? Are there awkward sentences? Are you too wordy? Do you have run-on sentences? All those things you want to revise. Cut out what doesn't work. Rework things to make them flow better. Now on word count, if you're writing a novel, that's 60,000 to 100,000 words. Science fiction runs 90,000 to 150,000 words. Romance novels run 50,000 to 100,000 words. Historical fiction, 100,000 words. Crime, mystery, thriller run 70,000 to 90,000 words. Young adult novels run 50,000 to 80,000. Short stories 1,000 to 5,000, but there are exceptions of 5,000 to 10,000 words. Flash fiction, typically 500 words, or as short as 100 words. Novellas run 10,000 to 40,000 words. For nonfiction categories, you need to really study your particular area, as they can vary quite a bit. Okay, so you've got your word count done, you've finished revising, things are going smoothly, it flows well, you have your sequences correct, the pacing is good, you have all of your elements included in the story arc, so you have your beginning, middle, end, the middle is strong and not dragging, you have your conflict, you have your rising action and falling action resolution. Okay, so now you're ready for the editing stage. Editing is where you check spelling, grammar, and usage. So you're going to go through it. It also helps to read it aloud for that as well. And go through correcting all of those mistakes. If you've ever been to Europe, your spelling is probably screwed up because, for example, in England, they spell things differently than in the United States. And it has permanently messed up my spelling. If being dyslexic weren't bad enough, I have that additional issue. So, be sure when you've finished going through it and you've got as good as you can get it, you send it out to a professional editor. Family and friends are great for telling you how wonderful you are, how good your story is, or that they just hate it. None of those things are going to make you an accomplished writer. You need objective eyeballs looking at it. So ask around. Word of mouth is a great way to find an editor. You want someone who does this for a living. And this type of editor you want is the one looking again for spelling, grammar, and usage. making sure everything makes sense, spelled correctly, and used correctly. Now you've got that manuscript back, and the last stage of the writing process is to publish. Whether you send it out to a publishing house or you're going to publish it independently, do publish it. Share your work out there. You've earned it. And that wraps up another episode of the Wize podcast. You can reach me, Chanah Liora, via Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or at my website, penwize.net. And it's at my website where you will find ways to call me, email me, or leave a voicemail, or comments in the comment section. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, this is Chanah Liora signing off.